And breaking news, a grass fire burning right up to a neighborhood on the west side of Lancaster. This is a live look from SoCal right now. That fire breaking out this afternoon on 80th Street West and Avenue K.
At least 500 acres burned. Firefighters have made major progress within the last hour, but earlier several structures caught fire. Again, this is a live look on the left side of your screen there, that LA County fire chopper. This is the footage from earlier. So see quite the contrast from just between the 5 o'clock hour and now the 6 o'clock hour in terms of the progress firefighters have made.
Yeah, you can see those flames tore through what looked like a barn as well as an RV and really got close to this community there with about several, probably 100 homes in this Lancaster neighborhood. Luckily, firefighters were able to contain this fire rather quickly. You can see on the right side just how intense things got, the black smoke billowing up in the air, and on the left you can see what remains there, that barn just destroyed, but firefighters able to save a lot of the other structures that sat on what looks like this ranch style property.
Especially considering how close it was to that neighborhood. You saw just a few moments ago when SoCal zoomed out a little bit just how close all of those homes were. Notice right there on the right side just how tight everything was, and then notice the burn scars left from what everything seems to be really under control right now. That's just one thing we're keeping an eye on. We want to get you now to the post fire. That's burning along the 5 freeway in the Gorman area in northern LA County. Today, firefighters battling heat, strong winds, not to mention those heavy flames. The post fire has now burned more than 12,000 acres. That started yesterday along the 5 in Gorman, and the flames now moving southeast toward Pyramid Lake. Both Pyramid Lake and the Hungry Valley Recreation Area have been evacuated.
And this seems to be the scene all across Southern California right now. Crews are hitting the flames hard from the air using helicopters and tankers. The LA County Fire Department says temperatures are slightly cooler today, but those strong winds are still having an impact on the firefight. A red flag warning is now in place for the 5 freeway corridor through tomorrow.
Hundreds of firefighters battling the flames on the ground using dozers to cut lines. Right now, containment on the fire remains at just 2%.
And firefighters from across Southern California are joining in on that fight, including from the LA City Fire Department, providing both fire engines and a helicopter. We want to get to Danny Ruberti now in the Weather Center. And Danny, the winds are a big concern and a big factor for firefighters going into the evening.
Yeah, Leslie and Gio, the big concern too is that we haven't even seen the strongest winds moving in. I mean, they are continuing to ramp up. I mean, even today, though, in some of those key areas, we've been talking gusts between 45 to 55 miles per hour going into tonight. They're going to ramp up to potentially 70 miles per hour. Leslie mentioned this red flag warning. This is in effect until tomorrow. This is the hard thing when we're dealing with the red flag warning. We talk about them every year, but really National Weather Service will lay these down when we're dealing with that nasty combination. We don't like to see it. It's when we're dealing with the heat. We've got strong gusty winds that leads to elevated fire danger and also low relative humidity. All that means is that it's really dry out there. And as these winds pick up, it helps these fires spread rapidly. So the concern tonight, we're going to focus these areas shaded in red. And this is where that post fire is burning. So gusts between 60 to 70 miles per hour. Relative humidity down to 25%. Rapid fire spread is possible in these areas. Now, this is a look at our active hotspots all across Southern California. This is updating regularly, and this is going to show us areas of high temperature. So you're going to see these little hotspots, and also areas where potentially new fires could be starting. Here's a look, kind of the perimeter of the post fire right there, and you can see all of the heat that is being radiated right now from these areas. This is just west of the 5 in Gorman. You can see it right there. And let's actually take a look at the conditions right now in these areas, what firefighters are actually being faced with. So here's a look at the post fire in Gorman. Right now we're dealing with humidity down to about 25%. That's really low. It's really dry out there. And we're also dealing with gusts up to about 33 miles per hour. Winds are coming out of the northwest at about 21 miles per hour. Those are the sustained winds. Now I want to take you over to Lancaster. This is the Max fire that we were also talking about. about. Relative humidity, really dry out there, down to 12%, and we're dealing with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So this is really going to be the key going into tonight. It's these winds, and this is what's making things very difficult for our firefighters as they're really trying to contain these fires. And so the key areas, it's going to be areas like Lancaster, gusts nearing 45 miles per hour right now. We're seeing that in Santa Clarita, also in Gorman, where we're dealing with that post-fire, through Palmdale, and then all of our desert communities, even into the Inland Empire. And you're probably noticing outside, we're also dealing with a lot of wildfire smoke as well. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Focusing in on our high deserts, Lancaster, this is the key area. And this is where we could potentially see more fires starting and spreading because of these winds. So I do want you to be extra careful if you're spending time outside. Also, the key area, it all goes hand in hand when we're dealing with this relative humidity between 10 to 15%. Now, here's a look at our winds as we go into tonight. This is where we're running into that little hiccup. So Sunday, 9 o'clock, so we're going to walk you through hour by hour. You can see in these areas our desert communities, and also right here in Gorman where we're dealing with that post-fire, gusts are going to start to ramp up going into tonight. We're talking gusts between 40 to 50 miles per hour at this point, but nearing 60 miles per hour in some areas. This is a look at 1 o'clock when it looks like these winds will peak. High wind warnings in these areas as well, all right there along that I-5 corridor. Going into Monday morning, we'll continue to see this. And the big concern, it could potentially start new fires, and fires could spread very quickly. Winds will continue into Monday morning. So if you're out there traveling, driving, it's even going to be a tough drive, a two hands on the wheel kind of morning. And even into Tuesday, we'll continue to see these winds. Now, the other concern, it's going to be the wildfire smoke. We're dealing with air quality alerts. We're going to talk more about that and where the smoke is getting pushed to. If you're not already seeing it, a lot of us are. We'll break that down for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Danny, thank you so much. And tonight, new time-lapse video from a wildfire camera shows the post-fire exploding in size right after it started yesterday. In a matter of just a few minutes, the fire put out a giant cloud of smoke and ash. You see it here as it burned through those dry hillsides.
And the several other fires burning today as well. Keeping an eye on the so-called Lisa fire that broke out in the Moreno Valley this afternoon. It's burned 250 acres south of the 60 freeway along Gilman Springs Road at Alessandro Boulevard. Planes and helicopters are hitting the fire from the air. Crews say access from the ground, though, is difficult.
And crews are making good progress on the Hesperia fire. It started yesterday south of Hesperia and just east of Silverwood Lake. Those flames have burned more than 1,300 acres, but crews say fire activity was minimal overnight and containment is now at 7%. An evacuation warning does remain in place for Arrowhead Equestrian Estates.
And this afternoon, a brush fire breaking out in the Hollywood Hills. The flames burned about 3 acres of dry grass along Cahuenga Boulevard near the John Anson Ford Amphitheater. No structures, though, were damaged. And the flames from the post-fire causing trouble all the way down to the Santa Clarita Valley, with smoke filling up the skies. Santa Clarita, in fact, issuing an air quality alert, while city officials recommend staying inside if possible.
KCAL News reporter Lauren Posen is out there live with the latest. How's it out there, Lauren?
Well, Leslie and Gio, you know, I don't know if it's because we've been out here and we're getting used to it or if it's actually getting better, but I'm not smelling the smoke that we did when we first got here earlier. But still, it's still a lot going on. I want to show you the sky because that is also still present here. You can see just how hazy it is, and it appears to be spreading out more, but you can see it looks like, you know, you can see the effects of the fire, and that's exactly what people living here in Santa Clarita told us. They told us, hey, we thought the fire was in our own backyard, not realizing that this was just the effects from the Gorman fire. And this is something we're going to continue to see as these high winds continue to push all those particles from the fire across our region. Santa Clarita, Castaic, San Fernando Valley are under a air quality advisory, a bad air quality advisory because of all the stuff that's being just, you know, in the air. And I want you to take a listen to some residents we spoke with and what they've experienced so far.
It's been really smoky. You can smell it really bad, like it's right down the street. And it's been kind of hard to breathe.
A lot of ash. My car, I have to get it washed again because it's covered in ash. And so, yeah. And then I woke up this morning and my chest hurt this morning.
So I talked to a doctor earlier today, and I asked her, what are the symptoms we need to look out for? And she says coughing is the number one, the first thing that's going to happen. But she says, don't assume that you're sick. She says most likely it's just because your body, your lungs are trying to get rid of all the particles that you're inhaling. I also want to tell you, I found this really interesting. Not only here in SoCal are we seeing the effects of these fires when we're about 30 miles away from Gorman, so seeing these effects far away. Also over in Las Vegas, they're also seeing some of the hazy skies and smoke because of the fires burning in our area. We'll send it back to you in the station.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. With that, let's get back to Danny Rarity in the Weather Center, tracking that air quality, the smoke. We've seen a lot of it in this last hour.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really even matter where you are in Southern California. To some extent, you are seeing the smoke, you guys. And that just gives you an idea of how strong these winds are, because these winds are literally transporting the smoke all across Southern California. I mean, just as she mentioned, Lauren mentioned that we are seeing that over in Vegas, 200 miles away in some areas. So here's a look at our smoke forecast map. This is a look at where we're seeing the thickest smoke right now. And so what we're going to notice, especially through northeastern Ventura County, where we are seeing that fire right now, this is where the smoke will be the thickest. Now, the colors that you're looking out for, it's those reds and those purples. This is where it is the thickest. Here's that key right up there, from light smoke over to thicker smoke. Now, I'll zoom you out. Taking a look at this, everyone in our area to some extent is dealing with this. And now we're dealing with these winds that are coming out of the northwest. So it's literally kind of just pushing the smoke over to areas over the mountains, over into our high deserts. And we're also seeing that all across the Inland Empire right now. We'll zoom you out, and this is going to show you where the smoke is moving to overnight. This is a look until midnight tonight, so late Sunday night into early Monday morning. You can see as these winds pick up, they're coming out of the northwest, kind of pushing the smoke east. So it's going to continue to push smoke into Nevada, into all parts of Southern California. I mean, areas like Palm Springs, a lot of our desert communities, this is where you're going to see this thick blanket of smoke. We're seeing this all across the Inland Empire. We've got that right here through the LA Basin in areas like the San Fernando Valley, San Gabriel Valley. So everyone, to some extent, you're seeing some of this haze right now. I actually want to zoom you into some areas so you can take a look at your neighborhood potentially and who's getting in on most of this. So really, as we go to later on in the evening, I'm going to stop us right at midnight so you can see areas like the San Fernando Valley. We've got that over into Glendale, San Gabriel Valley, Pasadena. Those light blues are indicating the lighter smoke, but you are still being impacted. La Cañada is getting in on some of this thicker smoke, especially up in the mountains. We're seeing that in our desert communities, Palmdale and Lancaster. Santa Clarita Valley, I mean, you have been getting hammered with this thick smoke today, and you are closer to this fire, to that post-fire. So I'm actually going to zoom us out, and you can see it moving over the mountains into areas like Big Bear. We are seeing it in Wrightwood, and then also in the Inland Empire, Rancho Cucamonga. We've got thick smoke over there. If you're not already seeing it, you're seeing it to some extent. And then we're also seeing that through San Bernardino, Big Bear I mentioned, and then pushing all the way out towards Nevada. Now, we've been talking about that air quality alert. I want to show it to you on our map right now. These are the areas of greatest concern because of the smoke that we're dealing with. So really, the Santa Clarita Valley, our mountain communities, we're seeing that in areas like Santa Paula, and we've also got that over in Fillmore. These are the areas where you really want to limit some of your time outside. I know it's Father's Day, and you really want to spend some time outside. But with this smoke out there, it just makes it unhealthy. There's a lot of gunk in the air right now, and with these winds, that's going to be the big concern. So we're looking at our fire weather outlook. Today, the concern has been those areas where we've seen a lot of these fires start. So areas right there in Gorman, where we're dealing with the post-fire, in Lancaster. Our fire weather outlook shows that today it is elevated in these areas. Going into tomorrow, I want to always talk about what's next. It's going to be those same areas going into tomorrow, and that is because the winds are still going to be gusty out there. It's still going to be hot, and it's still going to be dry. So this is going to be our areas of concern, and this is what we're going to be watching very closely for you. So again, just take extra good care of yourselves. Be careful if you're spending time outside, because that smoke, that's going to continue into late tonight and even into early tomorrow morning. Guys, back to you.
Danny, a great reminder for everyone out there, especially as we continue into this weekend and those winds. Of course, we will continue to monitor all of these fires burning across Southern California throughout the night.
And we'll have the latest coming up on KCAL News at 8 and streaming live on CBS News Los Angeles. Until then.